initiated our first training class for the body cams, and with that, what that means for us, the Peoria Police Department, we will be implementing the body cams at the officers' next shift. So the officers that went through the training today, their next shift, they will be wearing body cams. So it's been a long process, but very excited to finally have that rolled out. A lot of hard work that the staff has done to get us to this level, so we're really looking forward to it.
Loren, when's as soon as these guys are going to be in the street with this? You said that once today is their next shift. Would that be this afternoon or tonight?
No, it won't be this afternoon because this is their training day, so this is their shift. So tomorrow, there's a possibility that some of the officers working tomorrow will have the cameras.
How many, I know obviously 4 different departments are involved in this. How many total body cameras have you guys purchased?
Total with all 4 departments?
Yes,
365 total, and that includes some spares. So the Peoria Police Department alone purchased 245.
So what does this mean for the department now that we have this? Of course, this is going to be more transparency, more accountability. Just tell us more about what this means for the department, well, all of the departments, I should say, as a whole.
Sure, and you know, one of the things that we do, we work towards building police-community relations. So this will, I believe, help enhance the relations between the police and the community. It will have the transparency there, and I believe that it'll change behavior on both sides. I believe that you know, the officers go out every day and do a great job. Just because somebody has a bad day, something may happen, and they may not treat somebody the way they should. I think with having a body camera on, they're going to be more aware and thinking, okay, just because I have a bad day today doesn't mean that I should treat someone differently. But I also believe that it's going to affect the way that the community responds, because you know, in our pilot program, when the officers encounter someone, as you've seen through the training, they have to notify them as soon as practicable that they are being audio and video recorded. So with that, there will be times that the individual, as long as they're not intoxicated or on drugs or anything, that and they realize that, okay, I need to realize that I'm being audio and video recorded, so their behavior will change as well. So I think it's going to be good for both the police and the community.
Chief, are we at a point in time where this is a necessary piece of equipment for not only your department but police departments in general, in addition to everything else, that all the other equipment that you carry?
You know, and one of the things with technology, with the advancement of technology, why not take advantage of it when we can have evidence videoed what the officer is seeing in most cases. As I stated previously, body cameras are not going to capture everything all the time. You know, it's not going to capture the peripheral visions. It's not going to have the knowledge of what the officer knows about the person. However, it will be able to capture some evidence that is going to be able to be viewed in court that will help the cases as well.
You kind of touched on this in terms of it might not cover everything. You might not see everything within your vision. It might fall off sometimes.
Sure.
Just elaborate on that.
Yeah, so it's electronic equipment. Electronics can, will, and do fail. So we expect that to happen with the body cameras, that you know, there may be times that they can and will fail. However, the majority of the time when they work, it'll be beneficial for us at collecting the evidence. They're not going to be able to capture the peripherals because they're going to be positioned on the front of the officer, so it'll have an angle coming out in front, so you're not going to see something over here out of the peripheral. Cameras cannot capture or have the knowledge of what the officer knows. So if I've dealt with someone several times over recent years or whatever, and an officer responds in a way, that officer's knowledge comes into play as well. So, but falling off the uniforms during the pilot program, one did fall off the uniform and it broke, but it's still recorded, and we were able to capture the information. But that's going to happen. Unfortunately, people do fight with the police, and it's going to happen. But I think the majority of the time, it'll be an awesome tool that will be able to capture evidence.
How are you going to work with the guys to kind of train the muscle memory of being sure that when you start a call to hit that, to move that switch to turn it to record, to make sure that you do capture what needs to be captured.
Yeah, that's a good point. So one of the things, we will have compliance checks. So we have an officer and the supervisors are going to be doing compliance checks on the videos to make sure that everything's getting captured when it needs to be captured. That the officers are turning the cameras on when they're supposed to. But it does go back to muscle memory, to where once they get used to it, it'll be second nature to them. You know, as soon as they get the call, they'll reach down and turn the camera on. I do expect that there'll be some training on that, but I have full confidence in the officers and that they will comply with it and turn them on.
At what point do they turn it on? Is it when they get to the call, to get to a call, or when they arrive to a call?
When they're dispatched. So when they're dispatched to an incident, they'll reach down and turn the camera on.
Chief, you mentioned community relations. Obviously, this year we've had, the past year rather, we've had a few high-profile police-involved shootings. Given now that we have these body cameras implemented and rolling out, what does it mean to have this at your back as the police chief?
Well, again, going back to what I talked about earlier, is it helps us give the public a view of what the officers have seen. So we will have that evidence. So they're not just going by what the officers have said in the reports. We'll be able to show what the officers actually have seen.
Did the police department communicate at all with the families of the victims in those police-involved shootings when they were designing how to implement these better, or?
No, I was just curious.
Okay.
Loren, Ed had talked about when they come out. When do the cameras go off? At what point?
So when they're done with the incident. So just because they respond to a call and someone, say it's an arrest situation, and because that person's been taken into custody and all aspects of the incident is over, they're just waiting for the transport wagon, that doesn't mean that the officer turns them off. At that point is when the officer turns the person over to the transport wagon driver, so then they can turn them off. But you have to remember also that we do have dash cams, and the dash cams also would be recording as well. So once they're put inside the car, the officer may turn the body camera off because they're sitting inside the car, but the incident, the dash cam will be on inside of the vehicle.
And it's just a flick of a switch, basically. It's just pull up, down.
Yeah. As you, I don't know if they got passed around, but I can pass around. But this switch here, just push that down and then
Push it right back up.
Yep.
And it would hang from your uniform. How? I mean, would it be around your neck, or where is it?
No, so like for me, and one of the things that I made sure that everyone from the chief of police on down will be equipped with a body camera. So for me, I would wear it about right here. There's a clip that goes inside my pocket, and then I would attach it to that. And then, so as you see, as I was saying earlier with the peripheral, so the camera's facing forward, wouldn't necessarily capture everything that I can see over here off my right, but so that it'll be equipped or clipped to the front of their uniform.
How much do those weigh? Do you have any idea?
Weight?
Yeah.
I don't know. Jim, do you know the actual weight of them?
Under 5 pounds. I don't. I can get it real quick.
Yeah, we can get it.
How do you feel about wearing them?
Yeah, they're. What's that?
You comfortable with it? I mean, how's your personal training in this gone? Comfortable with it yet at this point?
I go through the training on Tuesday.
Okay.
So after Tuesday afternoon, I'll end up whenever I'm in uniform, and whenever a police officer has a badge or patch displayed and their gun displayed, they shall wear a body camera. So that everyone from detectives, special investigations division, everyone in police uniform, they'll have body cameras.
So a stupid question there, what about undercover operations where maybe a plainclothes officer, they're not required to wear a body camera?
They're not, as long as their gun and badge are covered, and so in a undercover operation, they would not have one.
So as long as an officer, it doesn't matter what they're wearing, as long as they're displaying a badge and a gun, they have to have the body camera in display too.
But it's only turned.
No, you were.
It's only turned on whenever they're called out on the scene or on an issue or anything like that.
Right.
One time it's turned on.
Right. Yeah, like during the day, I'm walking around the department wearing it, and it's not going to be recording continuously, But if I walk out back and a citizen approaches me and has an issue or something, and I start talking to them, I turn it on, notify them that they're being audio video recorded, and go from there.
What is the general mood of the officers in the department in regards to actually wearing these cameras on a daily basis? What is it? What do you think?
I've not heard any complaints from anyone. The pilot officers like them. And I know a lot of agencies, and we won't be able to learn until we get them implemented, but in fact, for example, Springfield, there were a couple of officers, I know the chief in Springfield really well, and talking to him, some of their veteran officers that were like, I don't want to use this equipment, but they're the ones that as soon as it goes down, they're right back down to the station and say, hey, I need a replacement, I don't want to go back out on the street without it. So I really foresee a positive buy-in from the officers.
The reason I ask is because personal experience just today, when we went on break, I happened to pass by a small group of officers. One of them rather loudly said, it's hard to focus with a camera on you. Kind of reading into that a little bit, but he is in here in a class about having a camera on him. What do you think of that?
I'd have to hear or ask him what the context he meant by having a camera on him, whether it was being uncomfortable with it on or knowing that they're on video. But once you become used to it, I mean, it's going to, you're going to forget that it's there. So
we could talk about that after. It's just something I noticed. Other question, really quick. Sorry. With the 300 and some odd cameras that you bought, what was the cost total for that?
I don't have. It was when I went to council and wanting council approval. It was the 600 some thousand. I don't have the exact figure with me.
And that would have just been for city, not all four.
No, that was the total
okay.
project. We are doing it as a group.
Okay.
Is there a particular order you're going with as far as your training is concerned, or certain classifications of officers you're going with first? Or?
No, they're all mixed in together. So like today, you'd have some patrol officers, some detectives. It's the training, lieutenant, and the way they set up the classroom. It depends on days off. So it's going to be a mixture. And actually, in a way, that works out better for us because when we initially talked about it, we talked about rolling out per shifts and kind of seeing how it worked out for each shift. But now that we have 20 or 30 in a class in a day, we can feel comfortable to roll them out at any shift. And as soon as they get done with training, we'll start with it.
Now, are you doing your department first, and then the county sheriffs, and then the others, or is there an order that that's going in?
No, so some of the county guys they're sending a couple guys to do train the trainer, so they'll sit in our class and
we had 5 from East Peoria that were here today, and then in the next couple days, the county and Park. East Peoria will continue to send, and then we'll have county and Park joining us.
You're just, I mean, you're doing it in one big
Right,
bunches, and that's just department by department.
right.
So.
We've offered, invited those other agencies to let them sit through as well, and as well as the state's attorney's office, because the prosecutors is going to be something new for them.
Yeah.
So we've invited them to sit through the training with us through the 8 to noon training, and the county will have some guys that will be train the trainer, and then they'll train the rest of their guys.
Is it 1 class a day? Is it 2 classes a day?
1 class a day for about the next 2.5 weeks.
You mentioned until Thanksgiving, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And of course, with this is what happens when people don't turn on their cameras. Will it be what type of discipline, or I know it's a new program, so there might
Right.
be some
Right.
leeway at first, but down the road, what will the officers and personnel face if they keep forgetting to turn on the camera?
Well, we'll take a look at that as a case-by-case basis. But believe me, if it's the same officer that in a situation that forgets to turn it on every single time, we would investigate that and take the necessary disciplinary action.
There was some concern, questions from the crowd about access to the cameras, especially if an officer is, say, at home on call, needing to come down here, grab the camera, and then go, rather than just go to wherever that scene is. Is the camera program going to affect response times at all?
Should not affect response times. We just talked about that after the class got done on a couple different things that we may tweak a little bit. And this is brand new, so there's going to be a learning curve and what to do for best practice for us. So, you know, as of right now, the idea was to have everyone store their cameras here, and when they start their shift, they'd have to come to the station and get their camera and then go back out. We have resident officers, so that topic got brought up and we discussed it. So we'll have further discussion, but one of the ideas we're thinking about is to let the resident officers keep them at their residence because they're essentially on call 24/7. But if they do capture evidence, they would be mandated to come down and download it because it is evidence.
Each officer would have his or her own camera. There's not like a pool of cameras.
Correct. Correct. We have, each officer will be assigned a camera, and then we'll have spares as well. So like, because if the batteries, you know, by statute, they're supposed to last 10 hours, but if the battery starts going low and an officer is working a 16-hour day, so 2 shifts, and their one camera's getting low, they can come in, change it out, so we'll have spares for that.
Storage has got to be an issue with all this amount of video coming in. How are you guys able to deal with the storage of everything that's being recorded?
So we have an on-site server, because that was one of the things that we looked at was the storage, whether to go cloud-based or server-based. So we have on-site server. The storage that we have for that, we feel that we have enough storage to be able to store all of ours, and then East Peoria and the Park District will also go into our storage as well.
But it's not cloud-based?
It is not cloud-based, it's on-site server.
How long do you have to keep the video?
There's different mandates for everything. I think the minimum is 90 days, no matter what, 90 days. And then if there's an arrest, it extends. And then if it's a homicide, then it's forever. So it just depends. It's case by case.
And these are subject to FOIA requests. I mean, this
Right.
is,
From my understanding, this was made possible by a grant, correct?
Yes. Yep. Yeah,
where did
we
that come from?
we received $253,000 as a multi-agency participation in the grant, so from the DOJ.
I took a note down here. You have hired somebody specifically for video editing and redaction in
Yes.
regards to FOIA. I guess how is that process going to work?
Her job is going to be to deal specifically with the body cams. So whenever we get a FOIA request, it'll go through her, and she will redact the video as necessary. She also has other duties, so this is not her sole duty, but it's her primary duty. But she also tags the dash cam videos as well.
I also noted that cameras, because we have Peoria police officers in schools, they will be worn in schools as well.
Yes, we met with District 150 yesterday, or Peoria Public Schools yesterday, Dr. Crod, and had a meeting with her and notified them. So yes, the school resource officers will have the cameras as well.
I guess in regards to juvenile privacy, how is that going to work with video?
It'll go through the redaction process. So, anything that would identify someone would have to be redacted.
School resource officers are different than Peoria police officers in District 150 schools, correct?
No, that's what we call our school resource officers, or the Peoria police officers.
Inside the schools, okay.
Yeah.
And they are carrying weapons still, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,